Welcome to the Young Hearts Run Free podcast. Bob, James, Karen's current husband, and Allan. How you doing, guys? All together, how you doing?
Not bad.
Excellent.
Good.
Evening,
Doing good.
gents.
Evening.
Okay, we are going to try our very best to manage this. It's the most multiple guests we've had on at any time, but nothing scares Stephen and I, so we're quite happy to go with this. First question.
John, I'm scared.
Just ride it, man. Ride the wave.
Okay.
A lot of people, Stephen and I included, hadn't heard a lot about the Pyrenees Stage Race before you guys were doing it. So nominate somebody to set the scene. Who heard about it first? Who got everybody else involved? Who's going to answer that one?
Allan.
Aye. I think it's his idea.
Well, originally it came about, it was, I was going to be doing it with potentially John O'Donnell and Chris McClellan, but very quickly it became apparent that they two couldn't make it. So I just kind of cast the net out a wee bit further with some of the guys I run with, James, Scott, Bob, obviously being three of the people who trapped and said they were interested in doing it. So it's basically a race over, I say it's a race, they call it the Pyrenees Stage Run. They don't call it a race as such. It's just about kind of getting from I'm sure there are some people racing it. I don't think we necessarily were. We were just hoping to finish it. So it's just 220 kilometres, 7 days, various stages, quite a lot of climbing as well. The best part of 45, 50,000 feet. And that was that. The boys said they were up for it. And then next thing we were organising it.
Quite straightforward to organise, because when you get multiple people involved with things, multiple people can bring complications. Was it quite straightforward?
Well, we really just had to pay for it. The race in and of itself is organised. You pay your money, and I'm sure the boys will agree it was fabulously well organised. So looks as if Bob's got a point there, Bobby, haven't you?
Point of order. Scott had his hand up first. Scott, in you come.
Well, we decided that in our wisdom we would split it. I would look after Bobby a bastard and Allan would look after Jim. So Allan and I decided to do a wee teams get together so that when it went open, because it was fastest fingers first, and we chatted for the first hour. Fastest fingers first, Bobby. But we thought it was on European time as opposed to UK time. So by the time we clicked it, it was sold out. So we never actually got in.
So was that the year before?
Well, in the November last year.
Aye,
November. So we had to politely phone Bob and Jim and say it's not happening. However, young Allan can take up the rest of the story with his due diligence.
No, I just pinged the race directors and said, look, we've got 4 guys here that are keen as mustard to do it, and they basically said to us, to cut a long story short, get yourselves on the waiting list. We've kind of, because I think they said they were going to do it at UK time, but they ended up doing it at kind of Central European time, so there was a wee kind of play on an hour out, but the guys were, I'm sure the boys will vouch for it, they're absolutely brilliant. They told us just to get on the waiting list. We exchanged a few emails, and they said to us, to be fair, look, leave it maybe a month, 6 weeks, you'll definitely be on, and don't worry if you don't hear from us. And they were true to their word, bang on, got us in, and the rest is history.
So it was just at the start of the month there, the first week in September, yeah?
It started on the race started on the 31st of August, so it started on the Sunday, and then it finished the following Saturday. So you were running 7 days on the bounce. You were running Sunday to Saturday inclusive. So it finished on the 6th of September.
And had any of you been to this part of the world before?
Never.
No.
I didn't even know it was 7 days, to be fair. I thought it was 6.
He did.
I done no research whatsoever.
So you realise after it was 7?
Aye. So we were doing it Monday nights. We're running around, and Dave was trying to do a wee bit for social media, doing it run Arhaw. And so he was asking me about the next race, and I said, aye, we're going running across the Pyrenees for 6 days. And he put it on Instagram or something, and Scott commented and he says, by the way, 7 days you're going for? It's like, well. I paid for 6. I paid for 6 and get 7.
I was watching the social media across the week, and from day one, Bobby had put up Bobby 1, PSR 0, and I was like, here we go. That's the standard set. I was waiting for the update every single day, and they happened every single day.
Bob was on social media.
It must have been a wee window at the end of the day. How many people, it was in teams of 2 that you ran, but how many people start the race? Do you know?
150 or 160, isn't it?
I think, it was about maybe 160, 170 in total. You need to do it as a team of 2 or a team of 3. You can't do the race solo. And if one of the runners drops out, as began to happen towards kind of day 3, 4, as the fatigue and build up happened, if you're in a team of 2 and one of your runners falls off, you need to then bolt on. So it means that the team officially don't get a finish. You can still get a finish as an individual runner, but you've got to try and bolt on with a team of similar ability, because they don't allow you to run it on your own for, and sometimes you look at these things beforehand and you think some of the safety and that's a nonsense. Certainly having looked at some of the descents on this, I wouldn't say the safety is a nonsense after this. It was a real eye-opener, as I'm sure you'll maybe come on and discuss what the race itself was like, or the run itself was like.
It does say on the PSR website, to go safely in the mountains, you always have to go with someone else. So
yeah,
and it makes perfect sense, I suppose. James, we want to get James in here. I've met James at the bottom of Ben Lomond one day. First time I'd met James.
Right. Yep.
What was your take on it, James?
But the travel arrangements of the actual.
Well, we've not done travel yet. Let's do that. How did you get there? What was the crack?
Well, the whole thing, obviously, Mr. Carr there, he loves to take control of that, and we're just happy to send the money. It's that kind of gig. But it always seamless. I think that the key thing for the event, they offered you the option of taking the full package, which included all the accommodation and bus transfers and everything. I think there may have been an option, Allan, or the guys might be able to clarify. You could have organised your own hotels. I don't know how that would have worked out in hindsight. Was that an option?
It was an option. I think, to be honest, for the difference in price and the accommodation we got, it certainly wasn't 5-star, but the accommodation was, bearing in mind that you were really just in there for a,
you're in small towns.
Shampoo, you were in there, you kind of dump your bag at night, get ready, get your dinner, get prepared for the morning and go away again. So the standard of the accommodation was great. And for the difference between not taking the accommodation package and taking the accommodation package, you would have struggled to get that level of accommodation for the additional expense, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and the hassle that would have been involved,
Yeah.
There was no thinking for us. It was start line, hotel, food, up, repeat 7 days in a row, It was.
The reality was, the only other thing we done was flights for it. The only thing we had to do was flights.
Flights and train. That was it.
And then taxi, actually.
Taxi.
That's another story that we may come on to. But
So I'm kind of looking at the route map, and Barcelona looks the nearest place that I can see. Is that so? Fly to Barcelona and then train up towards the eastern Pyrenees?
Yeah, we got the train so far, but a couple of the 11-year-olds that were with us there needed a pee, so we had to get off the train about 60k from destination, get something to eat, and then get a taxi before they wet themselves, So nothing goes straight forward with this four, or these three.
Agent stage.
Yeah.
It's an agent
stage. I think it was Allan and Bob, to be fair.
So what happened is
the real men.
Pick it up,
with a couple of pints. As you do, right? And jumped on the train, off we go. And
3-hour train journey though.
3-hour train journey. Allan says, kind of halfway there, I need the toilet. Meanwhile, I'm no thinking about needing the toilet. And he's going, no, but I'm desperate. So I'm marching up and down this train and discovers the toilet's locked. It's out of order. But standing outside the toilet made me need the toilet. So I ended up worse than Allan.
So it was abandoned ship at a random village, town, 60k out, and we decided we would get something to eat, a couple more pint, and then €100 taxi where we were supposed to be.
And I had to change my shorts.
Aye, Bob peed himself.
Full disclosure, pissed myself.
Alan's teeth are floating.
My back teeth are floating. My back teeth are floating.
He talked me into pissing myself. I don't think it's fair. Allan talked me into pissing myself.
And these are this is the kind of detail that people obviously listen in for. Nothing to actually do with running and or the elite stuff. It's stories like this that'll live longer in the memory.
This is the journey to the run. This is the journey to the run.
We're on the bevy, you know.
So I'm assuming this is what, the day before the start?
This was the Friday.
This was the Friday. The start was the Sunday. So we had
All
the
right,
Saturday.
hence the relax.
Because
I'm sure you
for
would
the train. Aye.
I'm sure you'd have been half it on the Saturday.
You had to. You actually had to do a
couple of pints on the Saturday, in fairness.
Yeah. We did. You had to do a registration the day before the race, and we just thought, because the only way to get there sensibly was Glasgow to London, London to Barcelona, bus to Plaza de Catalunya in the centre of Barcelona. We ended up jumping in a cab and then get this 3-hour train. So it was going to be a long day of travel anyway, and we might not have made the registration had we chanced that on the Saturday. So we went on the day before the race, if that makes sense, just to give us a wee bit of wriggle room, and 5 or 6 pints in Barcelona, obviously, in the toilet story.
Yeah, risk mitigation.
We obviously had to find a sink to steep the shorts because you're away for 7 days. They've got to last.
I didn't. I just dried them out and wore them again. But wardrobe was limited, so I made it. Scott, told you, full disclosure.
On that then, so what was, you said you went for, I've read it on the website, the full experience. Tick, I'll have the full experience. So are they then taking care of your luggage?
Luggage, accommodation, and if you want food at night, but after a couple of nights of that, it wasn't working for us. It was like a couple of school dinners at times, and we decided we were just going for pizza and stuff at night rather than, because we were struggling with it, not eating enough, so we had to take it into our own hands.
Thing is, it's big days. There's lots of big climbing and running out for a long time. You need energy and pizzas to go to. Scott?
I think, to be fair to the organisers, though, they're trying to cater for a mix of people that come along. So their remit would be every night they had a format, and part of that was feeding you. And bearing in mind, you're running into places that don't have like lots of options or amenities. Some of the places, to be fair, in some of the locations, we opted to go for dinner. But if you were to go along and just go with what they provided, there would be nothing wrong with that. We just thought at some point we'll maybe just do our own thing and then pop up at night and step into the atmosphere, because the atmosphere at night was pretty special. So
see, I'm interested as well with that, ticking that box for the full experience, and I get that takes away any sort of thinking you have to do. Just get from A to B each day, and then the rest is there for you. And you're saying that you varied off of that for some different types of food. What about the digs themselves? Was it like dormitory type stuff? Or was it hotels?
I would say some decent 3-4 star hotels, and bearing in mind, you don't get me wrong, there were 4 grown adults. Sometimes it was bunk beds and 4 guys trying to get a shit in the morning and stuff, in a single room can be a bit challenging, but I'm sure we've all been there. But we managed it as well as we could. And what they did on arrival as well is they gave us, because we're part of the full experience, they gave you a 60-litre dry bag. So what you had to do is basically empty everything you wanted from your suitcase into this dry bag, and that would invariably need to be down the stairs for 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, there'll be somebody taking that away. And if you can imagine the wee kind of drawstring bag you put a pair of trainers in, that would be your finish line bag. So you would put everything you would need for the finish line in your finish line bag. That would get dropped in a pot. We all had kind of different numbers. So you drop your finish line bag in the pot appropriate to your number. You drop your dry bag in the morning. So it was a kind of slick military regime, you know. It was it's not their first rodeo doing these things. They do, I think this was their 10th year of doing the Pyrenees, but they do races in Costa Brava, and I think there's another race they do somewhere as well. So they're well versed at doing these things now. And I've got to say the organisation is the best I've ever seen, without a shadow of a doubt. The guys were, and the volunteers and the two guys organising it were just absolutely amazing.
Very professional, but still great fun, weren't they? They knew exactly what they were doing, but they were still like full of the joys and getting right involved every day, you know. They were brilliant.
Can I ask, it sounds like you're well catered for and well looked after, and the race is really staged pretty well by the sounds of it. Is it pricey?
What was it, 1,500 quid?
Plus we paid our own flights and trains and stuff. So
And
1,600 quid for the event, basically.
But that was all your accommodations.
Yeah.
Probably when you compare it
It's good.
to something similar in the UK, it's
Oh, absolutely.
Just for clarity, I told Karen it was 400 quid. But thanks.
Aye, if Karen's listening in, it was 1,600 all in for all day.
It was 1,400, but Mr. Cart at 10% odd himself.
10% for us.
Technically,
Listen, we were 2 nights in Barcelona when we finished it. We went a day early. I reckon, all told, we were probably about $2,000 ahead for everything. And based on I can't speak for the other guys, but based on the experience I had, worth every single penny of that.
Absolutely.
And the reality is you could rock up and pay that money and probably get away without spending another penny if you really wanted to, you know, if it was a budget thing. Because the food at night, while it's no, you know, cordon bleu, the best of gear, you know what I mean, it's perfectly edible. It does a trick, plenty of fuel in it, and the same in the mornings, you know. And the checkpoints, the same during the day. I think the boys will admit it. It was the grub at the checkpoints was pretty decent as well.
Oh,
you know.
Excellent.
Aye.
I'm thinking it's the best part of a fortnight that you've had out of this.
It was.
The 12 days, aye.
12 days, yeah.
So could you tell me the magic about getting the authorization stamped for respective?
Hold on. A man that went to Tokyo for how long?
I will. No, a fortnight. I'm just thinking of Sydney, Bobby. If there's any tips that I can, James.
My lot are glad to see you back with me, Stevie. So it's all good.
You're encouraged.
Oh, Laura's pushing me out the door, so I'm good.
Brilliant.
So I'm still thinking about Allan talking about 4 guys trying to get on a ship in the morning. But anyway, we'll move on.
That was all right.
That
was all right, John, if you weren't already in brushing your teeth and he was coming in doing a ship, you know, that was a problem.
I don't know. I was trying to work out where the ships got involved in this particular travel. So, is it starting a wee tune? Like, is it sort of alpine villages that are repurposed for the summer? Sorry, Scott, go for it.
The start actually was quite clever. They took us to a place called Ribes du Friser. I'm probably absolutely killing the name of that from a Spanish pronunciation perspective. And so we stayed there the Friday and the Saturday, and then the clever thing they did was you ran from there on the Sunday, but you finished, as Bob says, in a kind of mountain resort. You got a train back, and then the following morning you got the same train back up to where you finished the day before, and from then you ran west, and every day you ran west and west and west and west until we got to the end. So we were in Ribes du Friser so for us that was a godsend, because Allan booked us into the hotel that was actually part of, and they were great with us because they gave us the same room. Unfortunately, I got shafted with the top bunk for 3 nights.
And you never mentioned it, Scott, once, did you?
No, I didn't mention that at all. Didn't mention it.
it's quite a logistical operation that they've obviously got well tuned, because if they've been doing it for 10 years, they've nailed it by the sounds of it. But if you're getting on a train at the end of day one back to where you started, and then getting on the train the next morning back to where you've just finished the day before.
It was like the funicular from the,
Aye.
I take it, ski resort. It was ski resort.
Right.
Each day we were dropping into a ski resort. We were up that high, we were dropping into ski resorts. So, yeah, day 1 and 2, it was sort of out, stop up in the mountains, funicular down, stayed overnight, started again. Get the train back up to that start point where we finished the previous day, and we were away again, and never
Right.
seen Reeves de
Okay.
Fraser again. So we had kind of 3 days, we had what, Friday, the Saturday, and the Sunday, and the Monday. No, would that be right? We have 4 days there.
No, we had 3 nights there. The night
3
before.
nights. Aye, 4 days.
Yeah.
3 nights, 4 days overall.
And something that is kind of always on our lips when we're thinking about things like that, the weather. What like was that?
Spot on, wasn't it? I mean,
25,
only-
30.
aye, we had lovely weather. But as you know, you're saying it's hot, you're thinking it's hot. As you go up the mountain and the altitude, it drops, obviously. And we never had any day where it was overly warm, did we? You know, it was lovely down at sort of village level when you could sit and have a pint. But at night, day up in the mountains was great. It was only the second day, the highest day, wasn't it? It was a bit. They were kind of giving us
Misty.
weather warnings.
Yeah.
They were giving us weather warnings, but we're Scottish, so we didn't even get our jackets out. You know, everybody else was wrapping up, and we were running about in shorts and t-shirts still. But apart from that, it was superb.
I think, to put it into perspective, the highest point was 10,000 feet high, and we were wearing what you see, t-shirts and shorts. You know, at no time did we feel we need a jacket or we need a hoodie or whatever. Although obviously, like any event, safety is paramount. So you had kit that you carried, and the choice was yours. Very rarely did you see people, but to be at 10,000 feet running in a t-shirt, it was phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal.
Sounds awesome. Before you get to you, James, Scott, the views. What were the views like?
I think
He can't mind because he wasn't very good at altitude.
We'll come on to that, Bob. We'll come on to that. Let's get a separate section.
Sorry, Commander. Sorry.
We'll definitely come on to that.
But let's talk about the views. I mean, you know, the Pyrenees mountain ranges, and you're saying the weather was good. It must have been like one of these like pinch me moments all week. Was it?
Some of the photographs, John, are just outstanding that we all took at different times. There were sections that blue sky, even coming up through the trees, busting out the trees, and just seeing it was epic, absolutely, and spectacular. Isn't the best word to describe it?
Yeah.
But it's an understatement. I've never seen anything like. We even had inversions on one of the day.
Oh man!
It was just absolutely, and everybody would say, "Look at that! Look at that!" And I think because we were all attuned, and the four of us were together all the time, at no point did anybody not turn around and go, "Check that out," or whatever. It was stunning.
Right, James, use your hand up and down. Do you want to come in?
Just a quick one. On the views, so when you're flying to Spain and you're going over the mountaintops and you see the wee blue, we were up and going round those things, you know, which I felt was totally epic. But just you skipped on there by the weather. Last year, apparently, it was epic rain they had, and that would have been horrendous because there was a few days we were almost climbing up through, which would have been a waterfall. There's no doubt that you would have been the water would have been coming down on you really bad. So God knows how these people did it last year. If you look at the photos from 2024, completely different sort of vibe to what our photographs and everyone else's photographs look like. So in those types of conditions, must have been pretty horrendous, you know.
Brilliant that you guys are blessed with good weather, though. It's always a bonus when you get that, isn't it?
It was.
Bobby?
It's just on the views. I mean, I've had a look back at my photographs, and the photographs just do not do it justice. It just doesn't do it justice. Just what we've seen. And another thing was, over on top of the views, was the wildlife. It was unbelievable. There was mammoths, and there was deer, and there was condors, and vultures, and eagles. It was unbelievable. Like the first 2 days, we were just kind of running about, kind of with our mouth open in awe. of what we kept seeing. It was incredible.
There were some days when you reached the peaks at maybe 9,000-10,000 feet, and you could literally see 50 to 75 miles in every direction, and all you could see were mountaintops everywhere. So I know you can take a picture of that on your phone, but it's never going to do the justice that you get. I mean, and everybody knows that. You know yourself when you're doing a run and you get an epic view and you take a shot. It's never quite the same as you getting to see it with your own eyes. It was memories that will last a lifetime. Absolutely epic.
Aye, and to share that with your pals is something really, really special, eh?
Aye, I will say that, John. Is
Some of us got emotional.
I did. Some other folk as well. But I'll say this before we get into ripping the hole at each other, because that will happen. Is I couldn't have picked 3 better guys to go with. I genuinely don't think I could have been there with 3 better men. You know, it was a great team effort.
Brilliant.
Aye, get out of the road now before I greet again.
Can I also, how was your preparation? How were you feeling going into this, your training? I seen you at the base of Ben Lomond one day. But you guys were doing the circumference of the bottom of Ben Lomond that day. You never got much views that day because it was quite misty, shall we say. Scott, preparation.
So my whole training was so that I would turn up and I wouldn't be the one to say, wait for me, wait for me, wait for me. That was the whole day 1. Wait for me. Day 2, wait for me. So for me, I when we hit altitude, we may as well get this out of the road now. When we hit altitude, I had no idea. I had no idea what was wrong until we realised, oh shit, it's altitude. Because all I personally thought was I'm not fit enough to be here. So I felt quite bad, and then I felt quite bad because I was ruining it for everybody else. Even though we'd all talked about going beforehand about running as a 4, running as a team, and knowing that every day somebody would have a wobble or whatever, I just didn't think it was going to be for as long as it was. I'll let somebody else chip in before I get really annoyed. But anyway,
Allan,
crack on.
You've got your hand up.
I just can't believe we're nearly half an hour into this, Scott, and you've not had to stand up and stretch your wee leg off, pal. You want to stand up and have a wee stretch just now? Everything okay?
I have a torn metatarsal that might or might not have come into play at some point during some days at some mileage. Just saying.
What's
I think
brilliant
the
is
best way to
everybody's hands have went up just
And
now.
we've got a collective hands up times 3 at the moment.
Summarise this is above 7,000 feet, Scott was in the greeting zone, and below 7,000 feet, he was in the see you next Tuesday zone. That's a good summary of Scott's trip. He was ripping the hole at you below 7,000 feet. Man on a mission. As soon as you got to 7,001 feet, he was greeting and needing a cuddle.
It's good to know what your altitude limit is. Now
It
you
is.
do know. And there's
I do.
no place in Scotland over 7,000 feet, so you're cool. Most of the time.
Got it.
I don't know my altitude cut-off point. For the rest of yous, is it over 10,000 feet because you didn't get there?
Doesn't bother me, Jim.
Sorry?
The altitude bother you? Because it didn't bother me.
Well, I think the key thing was that caught my attention in the first night's briefing. The guy said basically you're going to be running at a sort of mean altitude of 6,000 feet. So that was double anything I've ever been on, but that was our average. That's what he said was the kind of median whole way through the race. And that's not easy because there's no doubt about it. We were all feeling it. And I think Scott's been a bit hard on himself there, to be fair. You know, he kept plodding along. Other than the tears that was coming, he kept moving, which was the main thing. But to be running at double at height that you've ever been and beyond for 7 days is tough on all of us, because highest I've been's up the Ben, you know, so it does take its toll, no doubt about it. I think we were all feeling sick for hours on end at times. Day 6, I was feeling sick morning to night, you know, and it was purely it must have been to do with altitude.
I thought it was an overdose with you.
Well, that's a fair point. So he did say there, Stevie, how was fitness before we went? They had to humph my bags in case the whole way across. I was standing like this the whole way. My back had went.
Me.
So
on the way over.
I went that week in the house. I was lifting one of the dogs or whatever, and twisted my back. So I was like that. But they got me there.
Aye. I'm interested to hear from Scott. In all seriousness, how did you feel with the altitude? How was it affecting you?
At first, I just thought something's not right. I bear in mind, because the four of us were together, somebody would be in the front, then that would change. Somebody would stop for a pee or whatever. There wasn't like a you need to go. And this is day one. And the higher we go, I'd never even thought altitude sickness. It wasn't something that resonated. We'd been up the Ben. We'd trained pretty much. We did a Wednesday night in Ben Lomond. We were acclimatized to running on a mountain as much as we were acclimatized to running on a track or running fast or whatever. So when it kicked in, all I thought was, I'm not fit enough for this. Mm-hmm. And then I started to feel really, really sick. And I was saying to the boys, something's not right. And they were like, oh, aye, right, I enjoy your night. Because they didn't know. And then it got to a point where we'd nearly got to the top. And I'm not compos mentis. I'm not really sure what's going on. Bob's got me at the back. I'm falling back. And I think collectively between the four of us, I was already shitting myself as to what was going on. But I think the boys got a wee bit of a fright. So it then became, right, something's not right here. We're probably glad that we're all together. Sit them down, try and, I took Solpadeine to try, in case it was try to help me, or we didn't know what to do. And then as soon as I got lower down, things started to get better. And it wasn't until we finished that when I sat and thought, because I felt amazing at the end, what's going on? Well, obviously I dropped back down in height. So for me, the overwhelming sickness went away. And I thought, it must just. And then day two, got to a certain height, and it came back. It just appeared.
How did that affect you? Thinking about the week ahead, knowing you're going to do that most days.
It was fine. I just didn't want to be I just didn't want to spoil everybody else's enjoyment, because as we all do, you don't want to be the person that says, please wait. And I never had to say that, to be fair to them. They ripped the piss out of me, don't get me wrong, but they never ever made me feel that I was causing any issues or times, or we didn't do this. I'm looking at my watch. We didn't do this and push ourselves. If we did this, it was more to make sure we know where we're going and that everybody's okay. So they made it very inclusive.
But we'd already agreed that before we went. We said there's teams of 2 and teams of 3, but we had agreed in advance we were running as a 4. And unless a sniper took one of us out or one of us had a serious injury, we were starting as a 4 and we were finishing as a 4 every single day. And we met a lot of people along the way, other teams, other runners who commented in a very, very positive way. It's always so good to see you four. Here comes the Scottish train. Always so good to see you guys together, and there was always laughs and banter and stuff as a team were passing us or we were passing a team. But a lot of people commented on the fact that we stuck together as a 4, and I think that was a massive thing.
Brilliant. This is good to hear. Bobby, I'm interested to see your hands up, Scott, but I want to go to Bobby about training, because I know, speaking to you, maybe no this year, but last year, you had challenges with injuries and stuff like that. How was it? How was your training coming into this?
Last year was a total anomaly for me. I don't generally get many proper injuries that lay me up for any time, but my feet last year, for some reason, ruined me. And going into this year, I was obviously a wee bit apprehensive about this, and and the apprehension was probably not so much down to me no managing, it was down to letting the team down. You know what I mean? I genuinely felt that, and I think the guys Scott would probably mirror that when he says, you just felt you were going to let the team down, and I didn't want that to happen. So I trained a lot when I say I trained as hard this year, it was probably a bit easier in my training this year, and just made I done lots of slow running, lots of hill work and stuff like that. And in all honesty, this year I've been blessed with a clear path, a real clear path. Apart from I've now got a sore ankle, which the guys will be surprised to hear about because I didn't mention it.
No, you
I didn't mention my ankle.
So
You know what I mean?
let's do a quick round the room. Run raw, run raw, raw,
Aye.
raw. Are you coached by Dave Shaw, Bobby?
I'm coached by Dave, but in all honesty, what I've done for this is, you know, Allan gets a coach. Your state. Was Casey done you a plan, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
And the reality is what we've done is we made a pact just to say we'll do long weekend runs together, make sure we're getting 20 miles on hills or whatever we would do, and we'd do a Wednesday Ben, or at very minimum do a Wednesday decent climb run, you know. And we try to do that. And so I spoke to Dave. I didn't really have a plan off Dave, but what I done is I just basically kept Dave in the loop and just chatted with him over what I was doing this week, what was that, and he'd be saying, make sure you do a little bit of this, make sure you add a bit of that in, and vice versa, you know. So I didn't really have a rigid plan, but I just made sure that I was doing plenty of climbing. I hardly ran in the road all year, if I'm honest, you know, and it's been an absolute gem of a year, you know. Delighted with what we've done.
Casey, we're talking Casey Morgan, Alan.
Aye.
Yeah.
Is he your coach, or was it that for this event?
I took a 6-month plan from Casey just to, you know, get me kind of ready for the event. But listen, it was, you know, kind of hill reps, the stuff that you need a wee bit of kind of structure and a wee bit of, you almost need somebody telling you to do it. You know you need to do it yourself, but sometimes if there's that bit of structure there with somebody telling you. So Casey just gave me a plan leading up to the event, and it I felt great. You know, 16 weeks of hill reps and hard running up hills at weekends and stuff, and just that bit of structure paid dividends. I felt I think there was 1 or 2 days I felt a wee bit sick, wee bit ill. Whether that was the altitude and stuff again, I've got no idea. Actually, some mornings when I got up to actually do the event, I don't know about the rest of the guys, I felt a wee bit nervous, almost to, you know, the thought of getting through another day of this and letting the guys down, because some of the mornings I was excited and I was buzzing, but I was nervous inside as well. You know, my stomach was churning a wee bit, but physically I felt absolutely great at the end of each day. You know, felt I had a wee bit more to give and stuff. So training went great.
Cool.
Scots gesticulating.
So I obviously took a plan from Neil McNichol and Run Recover, which Karen then vetted and changed so I had 2 coaches, just so you know.
That's
Dave
cheating.
McNichol in their surname.
And how did you feel going into the event? If what Alan just said, 16-week plan, feeling good going in. Bobby's saying the same. How are you feeling at the start line, Scott?
$1 million. Like we all carry a wee niggle here and a wee niggle there, but I'd lost a wee. I'd put on a wee bit of timber over Christmas and New Year and hadn't been was injured. No, really. Neil jumped on the plan, started to lose a bit of weight. Things went to plan. In fact, Karen took me to Club La Santa on a boot camp for 4 days. I couldn't fit into my t-shirt, so that all got rectified.
Is that when you were doing yoga in a nappy?
Aye. Nappy yoga. Nappy yoga makes you lose weight, apparently.
You can get bigger t-shirts, eh?
Oh, I tell you. It was interesting.
I know that, John. I know that, John.
James.
Well, I'm interested about James's back.
Oh, I just got full of Brofen and Cocodamol, and by the end of the first day, I was straight again. So the back wasn't the problem. It was like the guys in the mornings trying to get breakfast done. There's that knot in your stomach of apprehension, because you know what you've done the day before. We didn't have great sleeps for lots of reasons. Bob was snoring, Allan was walking about the room shouting about it, making more noise than Bob. We'll come on to that, I'm sure, later, but you're getting up, you've hardly slept a wink, you're down trying to force stuff down your neck for the start of the race at least, and you've got that knot in your stomach, and then you get the start line, and I'm no one for dancing about in general, but at the start line they're all dancing about about, and the music's going and all this stuff, and I'm like, just feeling sick because that general. But after a kilometre or so, which tended to be like that, it faded away because we had other worries to deal with going through these climbs.
And what about the coaching side of stuff? Everybody
Nothing.
else is. James, are you not coached by anybody?
No coached. I other stuff I've done in the past, no coaching, always kind
Natural
of
talent, Jim.
last minute Sally, just it probably wasn't for Allan phoning me every day or messaging me along with the guys at the weekend, I would probably have done half of what I did before the race.
But when you've got Scott, Allan, Bobby, they're your comrades and your team, and they're all coached and they're passing that wisdom on at you, and you're just purloining the best.
I was just getting it for free, Stevie. I was just getting free for the free of them.
Exactly.
I'm no daft.
There's a theme
I
here.
know, I would see you.
I got them carrying my bags for me the whole way.
I know.
I can do that.
This whole back.
I think I've still
the
to pay Allan
backstory.
the money.
The back. I'll try
See
that
if
in the next. Oh.
If you know MD that's got a sore back, what to do is tell me to whack in 40 miles over a couple of days and 18,000 metres, 18,000 feet of climbing. That apparently fixes it.
The thing is, John, I've been probably in a dozen European football away trips with James, so I've got his number. Unfortunately, Bob didn't have his number. Okay, I can carry his bags for a week. Okay.
He just took advantage of my very kind nature.
You mentioned there the route, James, and never been to the Pyrenees. John has been to the Pyrenees on a football bus, I believe, so he wasn't exactly running up mountains, although I think there was a mountain rescue story involved in it, but we'll save that for the Patreon content, yeah. But what's the impression of the underfoot conditions? And I've seen some pictures where you're climbing up using a wee bit of rope and stuff like that. That's what I'm doing. That's a rope, by the way.
That was only once. There was a wee sort of 20-30 foot cliff face thing that a lot of people didn't use it, but in general, the route was underfoot conditions were, anything from tracks to gravel and then slidey rocks, really, it was interchangeable. Yeah, it was changing by the second.
I'm getting a great sense of, I think the word camaraderie is being used, and that nervousness about other folk, no one to let the team down and all that sort of stuff. But that's really powerful and that gets you through, But there's also been mention of snoring. So let's talk about snoring and farting. Let's do that.
Snoring's an illness, John. Just going to be up front. Snoring's an illness, right?
Okay.
You know what I mean? I can't do anything about my snoring.
So we're in the room first 3 nights, and Bob snores badly. He actually puts his head in the pillow, and it's like a locomotive going off. But
ducking in the curtains is what he was doing.
Exactly. But as it gets worse, and as you're trying to kind of ignore it and whatever, Allan starts giving it, I can't believe this. And then he's up marching about the room going, I fucking can't believe this. And I ended up arguing with him because he was making more annoying noise than Bob. I could live with Bob, because I was hugging him anyway. But the shouting and bawling just making it worse. I was like, for fuck's sake, man. Unbearable.
Full disclosure, I took earplugs for him.
He did.
Earplugs for him.
He did.
I've never heard anything like that in my life.
It is bad.
Never in my life. You could have got bludgeoned to death.
So wait a minute, the four of you are in the same room. Scott, I'm glad you put your hand up. And you come, Scott.
Scott was lying like that.
So Karen wears loops when she goes to her bed, and so I brought my own loop, so I never heard it. So it wasn't really, and obviously altitude, I wouldn't hear anything anyway because I was puking, being in the top bunk. But it was interesting to see Bob waking up in the morning and there was a shoe and something else. As somebody went, for fuck's sake, try to get him to shut up or nudge him. Jim normally nudged him because Jim insisted in lying next to Bob, cuddling him and stuff. So it wasn't too bad.
He did wake me up one night. Jim woke me up one night. He didn't mean it. But I woke up in the middle of the night and I had this draft down my back. And it's that way you're lying in your bed, you're like, somebody left a window open. It was Jim in the bed next to me, and he was breathing out. But when Jim breathes out when he sleeps, he blows. He goes, Right, and I've got this cold draft down my back.
Did you hear
Anyway.
a trial run all 4 years in one room before it? Or maybe a wee sleepover or
The
something
trip would
like
have been cancelled, Stevie. The trip would have been cancelled.
Never again.
Scott's fair found that hands up button, hasn't he?
To be fair, the journey to Ben Lomond and back in the car, depending on who was driving, should have gave us a small nuance as just how much banter there was going to be, the four of us stuck in the same room. I just felt sorry for Richie Darragh, who happened to be with us one night, and instead of me getting hammered or Bob getting it, Richie might have took it on the chin for that night, but wasn't it just one of us? I think the four of us hit him at the same
Once we
time.
seen blood.
That
There
was
was blood in the water, wasn't there? That was it.
Okay, so we often speak about best bits of kit and stuff like that. Scott, loops, essential for something like this.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. They worked an absolute treat.
Did Allan get a shot at them one night? No.
That's another story.
No,
the loops. No.
The
loops, I meant.
Loops. I don't know what loops are. Please explain that, Scott.
Loops are a little bit of silicone that you put in your ear, and if you push it in far enough, it blocks a certain wave, which is attuned to like a snore. They're not expensive. I buy them on Amazon. They're freely available. They work really well. You can lie on them, so you can turn over, which didn't matter for me. I'm a coffin sleeper. I lie like that and don't move, and that's it. And then I got up in the morning and wait my turn for the toilet, because there's somebody else is always needing before me anyway. So, yep.
You heard of loops before, John?
No, I'm on Amazon right now looking at them. So, no, I've never. When Scott first mentioned it, I was like, loops. No, I've never heard of
So
that.
you can buy. Karen wears them for they're noise cancelling for through the day as well. If you go to a concert, people wear them for concerts. You get a wee chain and they're magnetic. They clip in. They're clever.
John, you make sure you're not on Amazon looking for lube. That's something completely different, okay?
That's a different story.
I'll tell you what we discovered about Scott.
As a subscribe and save.
We discovered about Scott. See if there's a gadget. For anything, Scott's got two, because there's two different brands. So you got to have both of them. He's unbelievable with the stuff he arrives with.
I've spent some time with Scott talking about running and all different stuff, and I turned up one day, I think it might have been a Wild Heart run, and I had a race vest on that I hadn't long purchased.
He showed you how to fix your bottles, didn't he?
And within the first 5 minutes, Scott was all showing me wee tips and tricks. Absolutely game changer, man.
We call them hacks.
Hacks. Game changers. And Scott's very free with his information that he gives out, so brilliant guy to have along. Yeah.
He's got.
Then he shut him up.
He's that good. We call him the farrier. He's down at your feet as well. You know, you're lying in your bed trying to sleep. He's just sawing your toenails off and stuff like that. So he's not a bad guy to have.
His feet. That's the other thing. Is Scott's right into his foot care. He's got a foot fetish there, Scott.
Clipper nickel.
Clipper nickel. There's a lot of nicknames getting bandied about here.
That's just for Scott, of course.
Scott used to come up at night and say, "I do your nail. I do your nail.
I do your nail. You want to go out? You want to go out? I do your nail."
So after all this foot care that Scott does, he does a lot of foot care, and he's trying to talk me into foot care, which I just put socks on, shoes on, and off I go. Right, and Scott's grinding wee white bits of skin off his feet and using pervy lotions and potions, and while naked. And how many blisters did you get, Scott?
Well, to be fair, Bob, I got 0 from running. I put on a pair of Skechers. I put on a pair of Skechers on one of the nights without socks, and I'm still picking the scab off the inside of my heel.
Aye.
Unbelievable.
Aye. And that's only because there was a gadget available to do something to your feet. Just unbelievable.
But the money I make in OnlyFans for feet it's worth it. Price for it.
Price for the trips to the Pyrenees. Okay, right. Let's get on about the actual running part of it. So 7 days. Is there a big day? Is there a renowned day that's the tough day? Is there an easy day? How's it kind of play out? Bob, you look like you're away to speak.
Aye, well, there's day one, so it basically runs through. So day one was 27 kilometres. Day 2 was 35k. Day 3 was 39k, and day 4 was 20k. Day 5 was 40. Day 6, 27, and day 7 was 33. And the reality is that every day was just as tough as the last, apart from the last day in my eyes. The last day was brutal. You're going up and down, up and down. Some days were big long ups and then big long downs, and that'd be the whole day done. Some days were up and down, up and down, up and down, and but the last day we ran through a boulder field it just felt like eternity. We just couldn't get done with these boulders that were the size of bloody minis, But aye, it's averages out of 20 miles a day, obviously, but it's just unbelievable.
Day 4's a shorter day where what they do in the afternoon is the 20-kilometre day. And it sounds easy, but it was actually a tough wee day that. They run a bus into. We were in Andorra for 2 days, so they run a bus into a spa in the afternoon if you want to go. And we'd all booked that and paid for it, and paid for the bus and everything. But in true Scottish tradition, we thought, fuck that, and we just went for a couple of pints because the sun was out, and we sat and we met a couple of guys from Austria who were absolute great crack. In fact, one of the guys he works for Sky Austria, commentating all the football. Gary, lovely guy, and what's the name of the other guy?
Klaus.
Klaus.
Yeah,
Klaus.
Klaus.
I think he's ran it. I think seven times or something. And we just sat with them, had a couple of beers, and we just thought, do you know what? Rather than be bussed to a spa and be bussed back, we'll sit and enjoy a couple of beers, enjoy our company, get our shit ready for tomorrow, and we'll just have a chill out in the afternoon rather than jumping on buses and spas. It seemed a good idea when we booked it, but you know how as you get further through the trip, you think this is just an opportunity of a wee afternoon to chill and have a wee bit of time to yourself, and it's probably the only day where we're going to be finished early, where we get the opportunity to actually do that. So we binned that, and as Bob said as well, you would think with some of these things that the final day is going to be a bit of a procession, a bit of a fun day. Anything but. That I reckon that was probably the joint hardest day for me. Grinding that out. I think we were out for nine hours.
We'll come to that. I want to ask you about your hardest day, your most challenging day. But was there cut-offs involved? Do you have to be finished by a certain time each day?
Yeah.
Yeah, and what was that? Was it generous or was it quite tight?
I can't remember the exact cut-offs. Maybe Bob would know them, but I mean, I don't recall. I mean, there were quite a few people didn't finish it, ended up sort of with injuries and things like that, and just the kind of cumulative fatigue of not being able to go on. But I don't think there was anybody that was actually timed out that I'm aware of. So they must have been reasonably generous.
Scott, you had your hand up. You want to comment on that?
No, not to say that we were super elite or whatever, but I don't think at any particular point on any day did we ever feel that a cut-off was an issue for us. Now, whether that's because we were focused or fit or capable, or whether the cut-off was lenient. I personally saw 2 girls that were upset because they'd been cut off the day before, but they were allowed to continue the next day. They just didn't do the last wee section and they got bussed back. So some people didn't make the cut-off. They were clear on the website what the times would be. If you click on to each day, it kind of tells you. It never really raised its head for us. We seemed to be, and the one day I think we all talked about it because we thought we were slow or whatever. I think we were 2 hours ahead. Was it not you, Bob, that said, I think we're 2 hours ahead of what the cough? It's like day 6 or something. We just never thought about it.
Okay.
And they never happened. When they did the brief, we need to talk about the brief at night at some point. But when they did the brief, they didn't. Cut-offs wasn't something that people discussed or raised any issue with. There was no hand raising to say I need to do this and what's the time, and There was none of that. They were pretty chilled about it all.
Got to say, the website's very comprehensive. All the information that you need is there. You can, it's saying downloads. I assume you can download GPXs and all that for the routes and everything's there. And it states the start and finish times there. That's why I'm asking if that was an enforced cut-off. Bobby?
It is enforced, like the finish time, they take away the finish line. But what they do is you come out the race, but you're allowed to continue. So, you know, if your accumulative time was good enough to win it and you'd missed a day, you wouldn't pick a prize up, you know. But they don't, they because they actually call it the Pyrenees Stage Run rather than the Pyrenees Stage Race. Like, it is a race, but they're encouraging folk to get out there and have a go at it rather than, you know, it's dead competitive, you know.
Can I ask individually, I'm going to start with you, James, and you might have discussed this between yourselves, you might not have. What was your most challenging day?
So I judge it. I judge the 7 days as almost similar, but we averaged sort of 7.5 hours per day on similar terrain each day, feeling. But my worst day was day 6 because I felt sick from getting up in the morning, had a shit sleep, up in the morning till the very end. And like Scott said at the start, these guys probably got me around because I was just in a zone where I was just tagging on at the back, no speaking and nothing like that. So the terrain, the toughest day I would find difficult to say day 1 day. But for me, my toughest day was day 6, and it was purely the way I felt. You know, I couldn't differentiate between the days because it was, you know, although it was enjoyable, it was misery for hours on end, you know. So you've got to have a mental block to just get it done and get to the top. And the good thing was we knew with our watches when we were getting to top of the peaks and certain things. But sometimes the downhill was a lot harder than getting up, you know.
Because see, looking at the elevation of stage 6, it looks like it's a big climb.
Well,
and it's a massive descent for like
21 kilometres descent that was that day. And so when you get at the top, that was day 6, wasn't it? When they said you've got 21 kilometres. Was day 6 the scree? No? Was that 7?
No. It's scree in day 7 and day 5 and 7.
I enjoyed the last day and 5, but day 6 was my worst day, John, by a long shot, and it was purely down to how I felt.
Okay, thank you very much. Another bit of that camaraderie coming through there as well, though, doing it together. Stephen?
Well, just whilst you're speaking about that, James, what is the crack with like fuel stations or anything like that?
Generally, when you hear that there's a fuel station every 5 to 10k, you think that's too much. But we were getting into fuel stations with nothing, no bottles, nothing left. We were desperate. I was desperate for them in the last 2 days anyway. But there was always a station very well positioned. You know, you were desperate for a drink at times. So 5 to 10k, there was always a very well stocked, and it was sandwiches, food, ISO drink, water, Coke, oranges, everything. You know, it was perfect. Couldn't have complained.
Just relying on that for you.
Relying fully, 100%.
Cool. Cheers, James.
Speaking personally, I think I would forget for me to be filling stuff up. But you're checking on each other to make sure you had enough to go on for the next stage.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, Allan was forever saying, even to myself, just drink what's in your bottles at the station if we had any left, and leave full. And chocolate and jelly babies and everything you could get, a couple of sandwiches. Now, I wasn't even feeling like eating on a few of the days, but you just force it in, and we walked for maybe 10 minutes, eating, drinking, away we go again, you know.
I'd be thinking, I've paid for this. I'm taking everything I can get for this aid station.
This 1,500 quid's getting used up, definitely.
Allan, most challenging day for you?
It was probably 2 days for me. I just thought there were 2 descents. There was a descent in day 5 and a descent in day 7, where had I known in advance that these descents were going to be the way that they turned out to be, I mean, I dealt with them and it was fine, but absolutely not my cup of tea. I mean, as James was saying there, you've got a couple of days where you maybe climb for 3.5 hours and you would reach a peak, and it was like the proper peak of a mountain. where you'd be saying, right, maybe a couple of wee tracks going off in different ways, and you'd be saying, what way do we go now? And the guy would be saying, you get down there, and I'm looking over the edge going, fucking down there? You're having a laugh. And I think it was so there was one of those in day 5, which was scree, and there were a couple of times boulders came loose, and you had to shout to people below you to watch out, because it almost started a bit of a rock avalanche with people needing to duck in and stuff. And the telling point for me in day 7 was when I looked over the edge, and I thought, I just had that feeling in the pit of my stomach going, I'm going to need to get down there. And then you look, and there's 2 guys positioned, and they're positioned as part of the marshalling team to ensure that you don't fall off. And I'm thinking, Jesus, Mary and Joseph, this isn't my idea of a fun downhill. So really absolutely loved everything about the event, and so many different things you could say about the different days. But those 2 descents for me in particular were, don't get, the guys revelled in them. I'm fine in the uphill, I'm fine in the flat, and I deal with the downhill. And I'm okay running downhill if it's something like the Crags or Ben Lomond or something like that. But this was different gravy. This was different downhill to me. This was downhill that, like, I've spent some time in the lakes this year for the first time ever, and some of that gave me the heebie-jeebies a wee bit. This is off the charts heebie-jeebies for me. So really, really enjoyed it. But those 2 days in particular, 5 and 7, and those 2 descents just gave me the willies and a wee pain in my fifi.
But you're going down those descents, Alan, on tired legs. I'm assuming your quads would be pretty mashed up as well. So
not at the speed I was going at, Stephen. I was hanging on to the rocks greeting, pal. So no.
Was it all right? Was it like that? It wasn't with the finesse
not
an ibex.
like that. No, but it was just I wasn't scared to let people pass me and say, look, I'm going at my own pace here. If you want by, you go by. So for the sake of an extra 5 or 10 minutes to get to the bottom of a descent like that, I'm taking it, because some of these are 1 foot wrong, and it's danger. It's so that wasn't necessarily.
Your pals would be looking after you at this stage.
Oh no, they'd all pissed off.
Don't talk about the meltdown. Don't mention the war, by the way. Don't talk about the meltdown. Day 7? Was it day 7 you had the meltdown?
I'm not having a tantrum, Day. I'm not having a tantrum.
He's all fucked off and left me, Day. No,
it wasn't a tantrum. Let's just say I had to have a few stern words with some of the boys, okay? You may call it a tantrum. I don't think it was.
And I was trying to give him a big cuddle, and he's going, "We've not got time for this." Just in a right huff.
It's going to happen. It's inevitable. 7 days.
Aye.
Brilliant. Stories that'll last you a lifetime. Definitely. Bobby, most challenging day?
It's got to be day 7 for me. Every day had its challenges, and some of those downhills, I love the downhill, but I say scree downhills that Allan's just talking about. I'd love to have a go at them, but I would love to have a go at them, on fresh legs, and not have 20 folk standing in front of you or run about you, where you could take someone out. That wasn't my idea of fun either. But the rest of the downhills I loved. But day 7 was just, that boulder field was just relentless. And it was like, I think it was Clowes had said to us, allow yourself an hour and a half to 2 hours. I think we were 2.5 hours in it. And we weren't, we didn't really push hard in the last day, did we? We kind of went out to get it done, and no, absolutely lose ourselves on it, But it was just, day 7 was just the hardest day, without a doubt for me. But saying that, you've got the old finish line thing, and there was absolutely nothing was going to stop us. Even my ankle, which has led me to nearly get my leg amputated. My ankle injury's that bad.
Did you roll your ankle on day 7?
Never rolled my ankle at all, John. I never rolled anything. I was absolutely spot on. It just, whatever's happened to my ankle is just, I don't know if it's just like tendinopathy or tendinitis or something. I don't know. It's just sore, still sore just now.
We
Is
wouldn't
this
have
the
known
first-
of
is
you.
this the first-
You never mentioned it, pal.
No, I know, I didn't mention it. It's just like you didn't have a tantrum. I know.
Scott, most challenging day for yourself?
Probably the first day. As I've said before, when I didn't know what was wrong, I didn't like that. Questioned the whole experience. Just struggled. Didn't like it, and didn't like having to apologise. And then realised that it was falling on deaf ears because everybody was saying "shut up" or "we'll make you." As they kind of rallied, I think everybody just wanted to make sure I was okay. But to the scree and the downhill stuff, we kind of as a team worked out what worked best. So I like all that. I loved jumping into it, and the only thing that upset me was in the two really bad days, there was people that were really slow in the front who were taking their time. As soon as we got past them, Jim was probably similar on one of the sections. We just took off and let the scree take us. So I personally liked all of that kind of stuff. But day one was just, it was hard. For a period, it was pretty hard for me. The rest of it was just great. Just I absolutely loved it. Loved it.
Brilliant. Yeah, that vibe's coming across. You've all had an awesome experience. If we're talking about scree, were you wearing gaiters?
Can we? Well, I go back to the whole hacks thing. I had bought into the Hoka Tecton X3s because the wee sock gaiter thing, and didn't really think about it other than the fact that it had a bit of a play, decent stack height, and would be fit for purpose. Jim went for, he'll tell you about his. Bob went for his. Allan went for, at the time, a kind of mix of things. But he did a run on Ben Lomond, and he wore the Mafate X3.
No, it was just the Mafate X, which have got the
Mafate X, which has got the really big stack height, and he kind of rolled his ankle a wee bit. And we had a small conversation. Allan tell you his knowledge of foot and stack height and heel drop and stuff is just off the charts. He could write a book on the stuff on the back of a Swan Vestas box, that what he knows about shoes. So he bought the Tecton as well, but obviously he went for the mint green colour. I couldn't handle that. So I found the scree with the boot or the small sock was fine. I never had stones, never had an issue. Bob went for a pair of wellies called Ron Hills, which, to be fair to him, were bomb-proof because he had 0 blisters, which he quite liked to tell you that he had 0 blisters in these Ron Hills.
Because I like well, you like to overcomplicate things. I just like to simplify stuff.
He does. He
You know
simplifies the complex.
It's very, very simple. You know, we don't need to get too technical about this nonsense. It's only running.
What was the Ron Hill? What shoe was the Ron Hill?
I can't remember what they're called. They're beige.
They were a brown pair. When he's doing shite, you didn't know where his ankle stopped and the feet started.
What they called? Freedom Ultras. They're called. I've just great pair of shoes, by the way. Absolutely, Michelin soles.
Yes.
No, Michelin. That's the chef thing, isn't it? The Michelin soles.
There's nothing funnier than Bob standing in Barcelona, having done his ankle in, going, "Fuck me! Look at the size of my shoes compared to my feet." It was like something out of Lord of the Rings.
When I put my shoes on in Barcelona to go out, the laces were like, it was like a joint of beef. You know that when they do, they lace up a joint of beef. My shoes were trying to give way for my feet.
Brilliant, man. Brilliant. Somebody mentioned about the briefing, whether that was night time or early or in the morning. Scott, the briefing.
So the briefing was done very, very well. The actual following day's brief, all the safety brief, they emailed you. So it was 15 minutes that you could sit down with a cup of tea or whatever, or a pint of Estrella. Choice was yours. And you could go through the stuff that you'd need to know for the next day. But what they did was at 7:30, you had dinner, and at 8:30, they did a day's prize giving. So they had fastest female team, fastest male team, fastest mixed team, and they invited those people to come up, played the music, had the lights, they had a big stage, and they made it absolutely fantastic. And they did that each night. And then at the end of the day, they would show that day's film, which they then put on social media. So we went for the first night and thought, wow, night 5, night 6, you kind of realise that 3 dough balls and a bit of doughy bread's maybe not the kind of best thing. So we would skip some bits. I think there was only one night we didn't actually physically go. We were there most nights. But it was done really, really well. Very, very well. And they had it in like sports centres, because obviously they're accommodating for everybody. Yeah, it was done well.
The only downside that I felt, it was the same folk every night. It went up, so every category same. You know, so you had, I don't know, 16 people. The whole hall was up every night. You know, it got, for a personal perspective, I kind of get a wee bit bored with it, if I'm honest. But I think they could rethink that. Same faces every night up, all hugging one another. It just kind of was starting to, not that we were ever going to ever get up there, but it started to annoy me. I thought, how do you know just have a prize for swollen ankles and Bob would I get a night up there? You know what I mean?
It sounds like a wee bit like Haggerson Castle with Bradley Bear. You got the same bairns going up every night.
It was grinding in me a wee bit. But if it was tantrums or something, we'd have Allan up or something a couple of nights.
I'm sure you'd had your alternative awards after it.
You'd have liked something like
that. If you'd won an award, I'd have to take you up for it.
Aye, exactly. You'd need to carry that. You'd need to carry me up and me in the prize back. I get it, Bob.
And the holiday nicknames must be brilliant as well.
I forgot to ask a question. Were you using poles?
Cheek sticks.
Oh, aye.
Brilliant.
Aye, but and I know that it's not something, because I think, Allan, you and I maybe had this conversation before. It's not something that's a customary in the Scottish. It's becoming so now, but if you hadn't had them, especially on these descents that you're talking about, I'm assuming it would have been even trickier.
No, I don't. Listen, I don't. I wouldn't get near a pole on the descent. It's just
Right.
it's just
Is it climbing?
some people use them. It's just the uphill for me. I got them at Christmas. Did a thing over in Mallorca in February, March. Did a thing down in the lakes. Did this, and I found them. My worry when I started to use them initially is the only thing I do is run. I've got no upper body strength at all. I can't lift a 2-pound bag of sugar, and I found the first time I used them, I was sore up here. But you just get into a style and rhythm of using them, and see once you do, see for some of these climbs and stuff we were doing, you just really can't do without them. I think of the 170 people or so that were doing this event, I reckon there were maybe half a dozen didn't have poles. Good luck to them if that's their thing. I couldn't do without them now.
No, I totally agree. And what do you hear? We quiver for them, like Robin Hood.
Aye, we quiver. Just Scott knows a wee woman that sews the Solomon quiver onto the Montane packs we've got.
I've got my pack here. I'll go and grab it.
You get into a wee habit of using them, you know. And again, it's a wee bit of a clusterfuck initially, because you've got to assemble them, you've got to dismantle them. But once you start getting them in and out, and you've done it a few times.
Can I just interrupt you, Allan, and say he's a way to get Laura to ask Laura where his pack is, because he's no clue where his pack is.
No idea.
Laura's away, his wife to wait find his pack.
You go out that chair like a bullet there. His back's all right now.
I thought he was going to phone me to go and get it for him.
Right, James. Can you? Right. So.
You seen that, Stevie?
Yeah. Well, I just stuck
the
a photo
quiver.
up in the chat, and there's a very nice derriere of somebody sporting that on a race photo. Not sure who that is. He's got a Montane. Because you can't see his face, you can just tell.
Beautiful picture. It's a beautiful picture.
Handsome guy.
Scott.
It's like an ibex.
Got a wee visor on. I'm not sure.
But they're absolutely
That's Scott.
I just find that you try to do without them, and something like that would be...
Doing the climbs without that, with your hands on your knees, that would be a hell of a climbing to do. The poles make such a difference, eh? Bobby's a way to get his.
Right. going up. Bobby's just left for some reason, so feel free. It's open season on Bobby right now because he's not here.
Oh,
Shall we talk about Bobby a bastard?
He did.
Is this a new thing? Was you know that before you went away?
It was Bobby the good guy for most of it, and then he had a few wee days where he wasn't pulling his weight. So I sort of christened him Bobby the Bastard, which is
a few wee spells and a few wee tantrums as well when he started to get called Bobby a Bastard. So
that was it. But nice Bobby get lost for a few hours and he get labelled with something, you know. So that's him.
A wee touch of the nerve.
Oh aye. He's got the patience of a saint putting up with me. He was humping all my stuff about all week, so I'll give him his due.
What was interesting with the poles, though, is, as Allan quite rightly said, he's a runner. He's never been a guy with poles. So I don't know whether this will come out that well, but sometimes Allan would say, what have you got? So you'd have to go onto the Amazon or wherever you would buy your stuff and then send the link. So I'd sent him a link for... Are we allowed to say the type of poles? He's okay if we do that? Yeah. Brand awareness and stuff. So we bought Leckies with the shark guard.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not good enough for me. So not only did I buy Leckies with shark guards, I bought thinner shark guards because they're less weight. That's how stupid. But Allan did the same.
Gains in that.
So
I hope you're not going where I think you're going with this, Scott.
Am I allowed to go where you think I'm going with this, Allan?
You can go there if you like.
Thanks very much, because I'm going anyway.
Granted.
So Allan got the said poles through the post because that particular company is good at next day deliveries. And when I arrived, Allan took them out of the packet and went, "Mine's are broken." But no, he didn't phone you to tell you it was broken. What he did was he took a wee video of him in the hallway with his pole that hadn't been pulled together and clicked in. It was just all loose. And Allan took a video and said, "My poles are not working. Is it just me? Am I doing something wrong?" Because the wire was floating in the wire. At which point he then realised, oh Christ, you need to pull it. You need to pull it all, and then it all clicks in so that it becomes rigid, and then it becomes a proper pole. And at which point he went, "Oh no, I look like a complete fud. I'll just delete that video."
So I did what any self-respecting guy would do. I went on to the video I'd sent Scott before he had a chance to forward it to anybody else, and I deleted it because I knew I was going to get an empty. In saying that, no many people will find out about it now, Scott.
No.
I resisted the poles as well there, Stevie, you were asking about them. I was reluctant first, but eventually just ordered them. But a wee bit later in the day, where are we, September, August, probably about June or something. Or Bob's been kicked out, he's saying. Do you realise that? Is that?
Aye, well, his Teams has crashed. He's just messaged me. He's asking me to let him back in, but hey ho, Bobby.
he's going to ask to get back in. He's going to
just keep him out.
Camera with Bob, isn't it? Aye.
But there's no heavy lifting required. Just keep him out. That's
I'm busy messaging him here saying your ears burning, mate. Okay, so yes, we're down to 3 amigos. Three Musketeers.
What was the script? There he is. Here he comes.
Here he is, right.
What was the script with the fractal hats? What was going on there? Talking about branded and things like that.
Allan.
That was just a thing. We had them. James, Scott, and I did an event, the Scarpa Great Lakeland this year, and we thought for a laugh, we'll order some hats. We'll get the same hats. So we became known down there every day when we finished as the Hats Boys, and it seemed to be a bit of a thing that stuck, So when we finished every day, we never had the hats on all day, but we would get about a mile from the finish line, and somebody would get into my pack and we'd get the saltire out, and we'd all get the hats on, and it was just a wee thing for approaching the finish line every day as the adrenaline starts to build up. You know you've completed another day. The saltire's out, the hats are on, and we're all heading towards the finish line. So nothing more than a bit of fun.
And the last night you gave them all away.
Yeah,
different people.
Loads of the kind of volunteers and stuff had been commenting and asking. So we went and found some volunteers in the last night and made sure they all get a hat from us.
Brilliant, like that, spreading the love. Like that, good.
Mr. Bart back with us?
But his camera's not on, by the looks of it.
You in the house,
I don't know
Bobby?
what's going on. I don't know. I need to pay the bill.
We can hear you. We can hear you.
I'm having to go to. I don't know what's going on. My team's just playing up.
He's on the drink in that shed of his. That's what's up.
My camera's not working. Nothing's working. I don't know what's happened.
Halfway through a bottle of Tia Maria, I think, isn't it?
Never mind.
You're all right. Nobody was talking about you when you were away. It's all right. It's cool.
It's just a bunch of bastards. I know they do that. I know exactly what they're up to.
Oh dear.
Oh, that wasn't planned, by the way. Okay, so you're finished. You've got now a couple of days in Barcelona to look forward to, but why don't you go to that finish line, because there's a magnificent photo of a couple of you crossing the finish line. You crossing a four, aye? Like the four of you all at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the results are reflective of that. Everybody dead on with their same times and that, aye.
Well, Bob and I were a different team. We just beat them overall by 11 seconds, but we're not allowed to mention that, Stevie, you know. We're not allowed to talk about it.
Okay.
Fair,
well,
happened,
do you want to talk about that?
Oh, we will, because I think, Bob, you overheard the conversation on the first day, didn't you? Is that what happened? And then we thought, they don't know, but we'll tell them now. So am I right in saying, Bob, in the first night, they went on and checked the times, and I think Scott or Allan had said to each other, oh, we were actually, 2 seconds behind them. And Bob and I said to Bob, I'm quite competitive, although I'm no competitive. This was exactly. I said to Bob, you need to. He had our timer in his pack, and Scott had their timer. So I said to him, every day, no matter what happens, if your ankles are fucked or whatever, you need to get your cello that line first. However, it worked out great with the sole tyre, because Allan had the sole tyre, and Allan probably doesn't even realise this till just now. Allan had one end of the sole tyre, I had the other end, and I always said, Scott, you go behind it. So I was controlling them two, and Bob was just going over a line in front, but we didn't know that story until just now. So get it up, East.
Great, yeah.
I'm glad my camera's not working.
It was planned. So
it was
okay,
all planned.
So Team Shields and Burt won by what, like
11
seconds.
11
right.
seconds.
You know what they say, miss by an inch, miss by a mile. It's just a win. It doesn't really matter. The time doesn't. It's just a win, is what it was.
Oh, that's brilliant. Okay, so you're done and dusted, and you're in Andorra. No, you're back
in Spain.
Back in Spain. Okay,
Through
and then
Andorra for 2 days in the middle. Sort of day
got
3,
you
4.
right, and then back into Spain, and then what? Train back to Barcelona.
No, at the finishing line. At the finishing line, we stayed over in that location. They had the party night sort of thing, big meal. Again, I'll let one of the guys talk through that, Bob.
Salardu, it was called, wasn't it? Which is once again a ski resort. Really nice resort, wasn't it? It was a lovely wee village.
Yep.
So we had a wee night there outside. But we found a boozer called Fandangos, which, to be fair, I don't think the Spanish found it quite as funny as us. But we went for a few pints there, but it was pretty brutal, wasn't it? Trying to get served and all that. But it was a good night out. We had the kilts on and all that. Put the kilts on for the last night. And I wore my crocodile hunter shirt, which Jim found immensely funny.
He bought a crocodile, Steve Irwin crocodiles in Australia, which I totally get, because I like the guy myself. But you're allowed to get a name badge on it, and he gets Steve. And so he's walking about in Salardu with this mad cream shirt with Steve on it, which I found utterly hilarious. In fact, he never get his own name on it. But we'll not go there.
What people don't understand is that shirt, I only bring it out. It's 20 years old now, right? And I only bring out in very special occasions, like the birth of my children. I wore it to the birth of all my children. And then that's how special it was, the finishing that. So I wore it there.
Oh, the nurses called him Steve for the entire birth.
His Wayne's call him Steve.
He's might rip a piss at me for it, boys, but none of you have got a shot with that heritage.
And is he one of your lifetime heroes, Steve Irwin?
Oh, the lifetime hero.
Okay.
There's only one man.
Ripper.
There's only one man that can eclipse it, and it's Martin Gray.
Oh, no. Will we keep that bit in?
That's a different episode.
No, please take that bit out. Please take that bit out. Edit that out.
Okay, so it sounds then like a good night was had with your fellow competitors. No competitors, runners or
Yeah.
whatever
Good night.
on
Yeah.
on that night, yeah. And a wee bevy to
And then what happened, Stevie, is we booked a coach to take us back on the. So you had the final night on the Saturday night. We booked a coach to take us back on the Sunday, which kind of stopped at the kind of halfway point. That was a good maybe 4.5 hours before we get back to Barcelona from where we finished by coach. So we got there maybe just late afternoon in time to kind of book into our digs, chill out, all get kind of showered and organised for out for a nice meal, couple of drinks, and just chilled for a couple of days in Barcelona before we came home on a Tuesday. So worked in perfect.
Scott.
I think. Sorry, Bob. When you go.
I don't think a nice meal done it justice, Alan. I think that lasagna was the best lasagna I've ever eaten. It was unbelievable.
Is there photographs of this lasagna?
There is.
Probably in Bob's phone.
I think I did take a picture of it, John. Aye. I was eating it
Please
thinking
share.
about you.
Please share it. Please share it.
He had that with a nice Chianti, didn't he? Yeah.
I did.
John, you never asked for a photo of the shirt. You know, want a photo of your shirt?
I definitely would. I think this
we need
needs
a
an
photo
air.
of that.
This needs an airing on the internet. I think.
It's still in the dog's basket, or is it clean?
Listen, there's pictures of this shirt all over the internet because when at Dunoon, I wore it at Dunoon one year.
I can see it in my mind's eye.
To be fair, it's the first time I've wore it with a kilt. It's the first time I've wore it with a kilt.
Let's share it with the Young Hearts Run Free podcast listeners, Bobby. If you can share that with us, we'll get it out there on our social media.
That's fine, aye.
Let's do that.
Scott's had his hand up patiently for some time.
Yes, sorry.
I think it's worth mentioning you talked about the camaraderie we had as a foursome, and what we brought to what we thought we brought to the event. It was interesting to see, with the exception of one time when someone said, "Go on, no do that," when Allan put his music on. Allan had a wee speaker, and two runners decided that Sydney Divine wasn't for them, which is fair enough, right? It's not everybody's cup of tea. But to be in an environment where people would say, "Can you play? Can you do?" The camaraderie from other teams was just phenomenal. Whether it was the American folk that we met, the Dutch people that we met, the Swiss guys that we met, the two Tom Thumb and Quasimodo. There was a whole host of people that just made the thing that wee bit special. And the reason it popped up is the night in Fandangos. I think everybody was the coming together had nothing to do with it. Maybe a beer was the draw, but having been 7 days with these people, they knew that you knew that what they'd done, you'd done, and vice versa. Not everybody spoke English, but there wasn't a day would go past that we didn't get asked if we were all right, or we would ask if they were all right. Did they need anything? Did we need anything? It was off the charts. And if anybody's listening and they're thinking, "Oh, I'll maybe do this, or should I do this, or whatever," 100% go and do it. Just go and do it. You will be amazed at how well you're looked after, how easy they make everything for you. There's nothing complicated. The GPXs, the way they set it up, the flags to tell you which way to go. Apart from putting Jim in the front twice, we got lost. Other than that, everything was absolutely easy. I can't.
Even to the point, Scott, where they played finish line music, so they have a song for teams coming in, and there was tended to be a wee bit of a buzz when we were coming in because the saltire would be it. Here comes the Scottish train again. So we'd cross the line and they'd be playing Flower of Scotland, no party, and the whole finish line would erupt and be dancing about. And it was just, you don't get a lot of that in your life, just those really, really kind of special moments. And it was just to get that every other day when we were coming in was just memories that will last a lifetime.
Brilliant.
Somebody come up with an idea that because of the bag scenario and everybody would have a green Euro height bag that would drop off. I can't remember who mentioned it. Might have been me. Pretty sure it was me. I bought tartan ribbon or Scottish saltire ribbon that we tied to our day pack and our overnight pack. So we would know that the four of us, this would be, we also put it on our Montaigne running packs. But on the last night, between Allan and Bob, they had this brilliant idea that they would make bracelets out of the, because there was tons of it left. We ran out of it. We used an entire roll of this stuff, just putting Scottish saltire, and people coming up that we didn't even see on the day coming up asking to get their saltires. It was phenomenal. Just brilliant camaraderie.
We've had a lot of people on the podcast speaking about not doing events, but doing adventure, going on adventures. This sounds like a brilliant combination of both of these things. It is an event that you're doing, so the safety side of stuff is taken into consideration, but it's been an adventure for you, hasn't it? Even like the travel there and then the stages each day and seeing different things, and you're up in the mountains, and what Scotch has been describing, the camaraderie, not just amongst yourselves, which is really beautiful and special that this is developed, but with other people from across the world. That's what the whole running community is about on a wider scale than it is in Scotland. It's brilliant. I love it. Bobby, you've got your hand up.
On top of that, John, it goes further than, the teammates that we had and the people we met running with us and stuff like that. See the event staff, see the volunteers that were there. Like they've got a deal with the physio department of the University of Barcelona, right? And all the student physios come out and they do massages every day for you. Just them and the people making the sandwiches, the people serving beer, the people, every last one of them to a man were unbelievably friendly and joined in the spirit that was meant. You know what I mean? There was no mumping and moping about, that these folk were up at 4:30 every morning doing these things. There was none of that. Everyone was smiling every time you seen them. When you get to the top of a ridiculous 10-kilometre climb up it, you'd be up at 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 feet, and there's somebody dancing about at the top like a twat. Well done, guys, come on, keep going. And it was just phenomenal. The staff were unbelievably good, Just couldn't recommend it enough. And they were as big a part of the event as every competitor,
Yeah, it doesn't happen with these people,
No.
So brilliant. Thank you very much for giving them a shout out, and we'll put the link to the official website in the show notes as well, so that people can maybe have a wee look in. But to be honest, I think you guys have sold it better than any website's ever going to do. So thank you very much for doing that.
Scott. The other thing I'd say is that they do, if you go onto YouTube, we all did our own sort of due diligence as to what we thought some of the things would be, so we'd know what kind of kit and various other bits and bobs. But their daily updates, day 1, day 2 to day 7 and such, each year it's different. Last year was wet, so you didn't get a real sense of it, because I think they hid. Christ, it's you look like
Baldy Bob's back.
Bob, you look like Mini Me. Well, not Mini, but you know what I mean.
Tom.
I thought Tom Thumb was back.
Casper the Ghost.
Tom Thumb back to South Africa.
Did somebody put 50 pence in the meter for you, Bob?
I'm just peddling harder.
Are you in Steve Irwin's house now that he's passed? No.
I was
Listen, big
expecting
man.
him to turn up with a shirt on. I'm really
so
disappointed. I thought that was very rude.
I wish I thought about it. Bastards, all of you.
Scott,
Try getting that off the deck. So anyway, so on YouTube, if you Google successive years, they give you a great insight as to what each day would particularly look like. And on their website, if you click on day 1, there's usually a video. I would imagine that with 2025's weather, this year will just be off the charts as they try and showcase just how good this event is. And be under no illusions, this event is, if you want an adventure that's something just a wee bit different, this is 110%.
Brilliant. And I think, given what somebody said at the start, I'm sure if it was James or Allan, spoke about the rain that happened. It was James, I think, last year.
24, yeah.
So it sounds like they've got something, as you're saying, Scott, that's going to be like, wow, look at this. If they've filmed it this year, and they will have filmed it this year, I dare say they're still piecing that together. But
I think the only other thing I'd say, John, as well, if anybody was thinking about it, I don't think these guys are at a stage where they need to particularly sell this race now. It's been born out this year. It's sold out in half an hour. So if anybody's thinking of doing it, there's a Scots saying you can go on and look at the 7 stages. There's a 2 or 3 minute YouTube clip for each stage, which gives you a small insight into what it might be like. But if you really wanted to do it, you need to be sitting on the day that it's launched.
You just need the right time zone, Alan.
In the right time zone, aye.
I think it's important to also say you need a medical sort of certification as well for it. They ask for that, so it'll be uploaded, which is important. Less said about that, the better.
But it is mentioned on the website.
Yes.
It is mentioned.
And
It's
also
not optional.
recommend some decent abroad sports insurance as well, I'm sure.
It comes with the
comes with
full
it.
package.
With it. Oh,
And last year it came to fruition because someone broke their leg on day 5.
Okay.
And they were helicoptered off with the weather. So we were extremely lucky this year. Extremely lucky.
I have been kind of looking at the pictures on the website just when we've been speaking, and I must say, like, if they were looking for salesmen for their event next year, then the 4 of you guys are absolute selling this to me right now, and the listeners will be thinking the same. You've piqued a lot of folks' interest. Peaks, you like that. And they do other events. They've got one in the Costa Brava, I think you mentioned it, and another one in Andorra called the Pyrenees Stage Run. I think that's that one. So there's other options there as well. But this one, the 7-day, looks like the full Monty of what they do.
I was chatting to one of the organisers, Jordy, about the Brahma. And the Brahma, you sign up for it, and you can more or less rock up in the morning and say, I'm going to do Route 1, Route 2, or Route 3, and you've got, I think it's something like 15k, 25k, or 30k, each day. And you just need to sign up for the event, and you can, if you don't feel like it that day, you can take the short route.
Oh, that's dangerous, man. I'd be like, give me another cerveza. And the other thing that I came across at the on the website was the amount of detail as to what's stocked at the food stations.
Off the
charts. Wow, look at it, John. It's seriously like all-inclusive wristband stuff. For the...
I was pretty raging because I'm pretty sure it says in there at the last checkpoint each day there's beer.
Yeah, it does.
There's no.
I think they meant the finishing line. That was their
There's no. But the finishing line, there was beer every day because I was just going to have a beer at the last checkpoint every day because it was free. But there wasn't there.
Yeah, it does say beer.
It was £1,500 free is what it was. That's how free it was.
Prepaid.
Aye. Listen,
Prepaid.
Scott's just tight.
Was it proper real Nutella, nay Natoka?
Nutella. No, it was Nutella. Proper Nutella on pan
was it?
bread.
Tell you what, it wasn't the dairy milk chocolate, that's for sure.
No.
Nutella
Dairy Crunch.
Absolutely.
Crunch. Anyway, so, my mouth's watering looking at that particular chart with all the X's on it. I'm thinking I'm already there next year looking at that, by the way, John. So.
And you do get a beer at the end every day. They give you a wee cup, and every day at the end there's a guy pouring beers, and you can go up and get an alcohol free, which is pointless. I don't care what anybody says, totally pointless. Or you can get one full fat, and every day you've got to have one.
And food at the finishing line again, pasta and stuff every day. So you were well looked after.
I see that. Magnificent.
I tell you one of the biggest, just one last thing, one of the biggest highlights for us was one of the days we absolutely smashed it. And we came in and we got onto the first page for the massage because there was 3 pages. So if you're on the first page, you were kind of doing really well. If you're on the second page, you're average. And if you're on the third page, And then one of the days we got on the first page and I had a wee moment to myself because we'd run that fast that we made it.
That was altitude, Scott.
We It was a wee thing for us to see, but on the first page, It was just
That was like
phenomenal
getting on
because
the-
everybody
on the
wanted a
podium.
massage.
Yeah.
It was like a podium for us. Yep. Yep.
Brilliant.
And the people doing the massage were fighting over who didn't get Bob. It was hilarious.
Didn't believe it, Bob. Now, we're drawing to the end of our conversation, and we often ask folk to put in, no, we didn't often do it, we always do it, dialect dictionary words. We've had loads of dialect dictionary words through it. There's going to be some of our listeners over in the Pyrenees and Andorra and that who'll be consuming this who didn't know what heebie-jeebies are or any of that kind of stuff. But is there, was there a group motto or anything like that? Is there anything that you want to throw in the dialect dictionary collectively or
There's a bit
individually?
Didn't spick was
Nae
often
spicking.
used.
Nae
You
spicking.
know,
Oh, yeah.
you know that. You know that.
A well-known
yeah.
Northeast video.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there was days when we couldn't
I
be
often
bothered
think
talking,
of
and
Bob,
it was
another Bob Barron is for up that neck of the woods, and that's how, yeah, he'll appreciate that one. I'm
so
sure.
nae spicking was used regularly because we couldn't be bothered talking to one another at times.
Oh, did the chat dry up?
Oh, we just were nae spicking. Allan also got his music turned off by those two German guys, so there was a few days we had silence for a few hours, you know, believe it or not.
That was nice bracken that day, wasn't it?
Very good. Very good, man.
Okay, thank you for that. I'll chuck that in the dialect dictionary. John?
We'll see if we can link in the video at some point.
No, didn't bother.
No, we'll not do that. We'll not do that. Now, listen, thank you very much, James, for bringing us on to the music question. So, if there's a song, I'm going to ask each of you individually, if there's a song that sums up your trip that you would choose, and Stephen and I will choose which one's going to get added to the playlist. Allan, what song would you choose?
Right, is this going to be added to? Well, I think there's a song for Clipper Nickel. So Scott is a properly qualified trained medic for those who don't know, and we were also known as the kind of Scottish pharmacy. There were drugs being administered every day as well to people. That's another story I won't go into in depth. But anyway, Scott's nickname is Clipper from the I don't know if you remember the 70s TV show MASH.
Yeah.
You'll remember the song Suicide is Painless.
Yeah.
So that for me would be the song that would be right up there. That would remind me of Scotty Boy being his medic on the trip. That'll do for me.
I'll back that, John. That was a go-to tune, mate.
Okay. Bobby, I'm going to come to you.
Me, I would just say the drugs don't work.
Okay. You're making a statement, but you also like that song. Okay. Brilliant. Scott?
Well, I'm slightly reminded of the text message that Jim got from his missus when she saw the first picture of everybody. And Jim didn't come out too well in that text message, but she thought I looked like Tom Cruise.
So Top Gun, aye.
So I started to play Top Gun. So I would have a go with Top Gun. That seemed to go down really well for us, but maybe not so much for Jim. But I'd be happy with MASH. Either or.
I think MASH has to take it because it was just
fitted well. Yeah.
So John said that we'd make the selection, John, but I think they've come to a pretty unanimous decision.
I think the boys have done that, yeah. We'll go with MASH, Suicide is Painless, a theme tune to MASH, which is an absolute belter of a tune.
Can I add something else on? Because I'll never be asked on here again, which is absolutely cast iron. Can you have Stevie Nicks, The Edge of 17?
What's this about?
It's just one of the best songs ever written.
All right, we'll add that to the playlist. Let's do that. So we're adding in MASH, we're adding in The Verve, and we're adding in Stevie Nicks.
3?
Aye. Why not, man? These
Unprecedented.
guys have done something really extraordinary, which is quite brilliant. And
And
being,
they never fell out.
wow, see when you were off screen for a wee bit. Anyway, no, but it's quite. But that's a testament to your friendship, and I think probably that friendship's even stronger now after being away together as well. And I think we're over 2 hours chatting. which is quite phenomenal. It doesn't feel like that at all.
No,
It's
for
been
you.
I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure what was going to happen with this, how it was going to be. And I confided in Steve. I says, this could end up a right rabble. But we've managed to get some brilliant content. I think you've all contributed brilliantly to sharing your part of the story, from the planning of it to the travel there. First time I've ever heard of 4 guys getting off a train because 2 need a pee and then getting a taxi. That's quite brilliant. And then what you've shared about the 7 stages of the race and described it, everything, the whole picture you've painted has been brilliant. So thank you all very, very much. I'm going to hand over to Stephen to wrap us up. I've thoroughly enjoyed the chat, guys. Thanks you.
Thanks, John. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, guys. It's been an absolute hoot getting to hear about your trip. I was really looking forward to it. With a wee bit of trepidation as well. I think I had a wee back and forth with Bobby over on the day. if you could turn into a wee bit of a rabble. So thank you for being on your best behaviour. We appreciate it, but we appreciate your time and hearing about your experience even more so. And definitely whetted my appetite. I'm just like that. There's a wee itch needing scratched here. So thank you for feeding that. I appreciate that. And I'm sure I'll not be alone in thinking that same thought. So yeah, what's next? Another rain? Another bash at this?
Well,
More drinking.
I've got the Chile Trail coming up, so I've just basically spent a couple of grand on a 7-day training camp for the Chile Trail.
Oof, you'll be on the podium.
Don't know about that.
Thank you very much.
Thanks to you. Thanks, John.
Right.
Thanks.
Thank you
Can
very much for having
Can I
me.
just say something? I just want
Go
to
on.
thank the guys for phenomenal camaraderie, phenomenal experience, and best bunch of guys that I could have ever wished to go with. You know, very
Here, here,
great.
Bob. Here.
It was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Feel that loud and clear.
Thank you.